whether you get it right or wrong. So if it's wrong, just go back to the first one. You did something wrong in the logic. Normally not the formula, normally the logic. Okay, so I'm gonna start in the Excel. Do I have to change the screen? Yeah. Just this one. Just for today, I'm gonna use Google Sheet. Only because I wanna show one formula that works better in Google Sheet. But except the one formula that I'm gonna use, everything gonna work in Excel. So don't think it's only Google Sheet. It's just for my purpose. Yeah. So if you can share the screen.
Share now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take from here.
Okay. So share. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. Is there any questions before I go into Google Sheet? Okay. I'm gonna share with you guys what we can do in Excel. Start from easy tricks. Okay. So when you do the Excel sheet, and some people still use Excel for timesheet, and they just enter time like that. I started at 10 o'clock and finished at 1:20. I start at 9, finish at 5, 3. On the next day I work these hours. On the next day I work these hours. So you have to pay the total hours, right? So the formula is simple. If I finish at 1:20, start at 10, it's 3 or 20. It's just a minus, right? Same formula in here. But when you add up together, it's just messed up, right? It's gonna mess up when it's go over 24 hours or more. It's just that the formula doesn't work very well. So the best way to deal with it is to change this number. So 3 hours 20 minutes, so it's around 3.3 hours, right? That's what I want to show. So how can we do it? If you can't see the formula, please let me know. I will try to make it bigger. There is a formula called hour. I'm going to show you what's going to happen if I do hour. So what they do is just take the number of hours from there. If you do the same thing, you get all the hours, right? 6 hours become 6, 9 hours become 9. But obviously we are ignoring the minute. If you want to get the minute, there is again a formula called the minute. And if you do that, you can get 20. So what I normally do is the same time divided by 60. So 20 minutes divided by 60 change to hours, right? You do the same formula, so you can get the number of hours, right? So it's surprisingly that way doesn't work, or sometimes it does, but if it doesn't work, just try to use the formula called hour or whatever, the time plus minutes divided by 60, and then you can change to hours. Right. If you want to show by minutes, obviously you can do hour times 60 plus minutes. But this formula is quite useful when the formula is messed up, and especially when you have the exact time like this. So even if it's more than 24 hours, because I changed the numbers, you can add up together. It's just small tricks. Next. Similar, but we want to know the number of days between 2 days. This is just random days that I put. Sometimes you want to know how many days between 2. And what I normally calculate if I don't have Excel is that, okay, 1st of July to 2015 to 30th of June 2020 is 365 days times 5 years plus there is leap year, so you have to add whatever the number of leap year, plus whatever the months you left up to the end of the days, right? And you always have to think about leap year, which is annoying. But there is a formula in the Excel, so as Google Sheet. What you can do is simple. Just that minus that. Oops. Yes. Sorry. Just that. Cell minus that, and you can get the number of days. You don't need to think about how many leap years or how many days in there. Right. So it's a simple formula. But sometimes you want to know how many working days in there, because obviously this 1,966 days include Saturday and Sunday. But in normal, work environment, I don't care how many Saturdays and Sundays are there. I want to know how many working days in there. There's a formula as well. Very simple formula called net work days. By using net work days, and the formula that you use is just so you just list up two number of days. So it doesn't matter you put B9 and A9. It's either way they're going to calculate the working days like that. So net work days remove all the Saturday and Sundays. Sometimes you still want to remove public holidays. For public holidays, you have to list up everything manually because Google Sheets doesn't know what the ACT public holiday is, or even Australia public holidays. So you have to list up everything, but as you can see, I just list up two for this training. It's a similar formula. Net work days. Oops. And then you click 2. Rather than finishing here, you're just going to include all the public holidays that you list up. So they remove the public holiday. Right? I list up 2 public holidays and it's actually 2 days. So by choosing the beginning date, end date, and choose the public holiday that you list up in Excel, it's going to remove. So I know how many working days are there excluding public holidays. It's pretty useful for us. The last one, year. From 1st of July to 18th of September 2020, we roughly know the 5 year and 2 months, 5.1, 5.2 years, right? Obviously, just minusing that is 1,906 days. And if you divide it by 365, yes, you get roughly right, but then leap year is going to be a bit annoying. I mean, if it's only 5 years, it doesn't really matter because there is only either 1 or 2 leap years. But when it gets longer, the difference is getting bigger and bigger. So the formula that we can use is called year frac. Frac is from fraction. And choose 2 days. So you can get, it's actually 5.21 years. So the year frac gives you how many years between 2 days. This is quite useful when we have to calculate the thing called long service week. I have to know exactly how many years each person works. 1 year plus 1 month doesn't really help. I need to know years. So the year frac function is quite useful. So the last small tricks. Obviously, if you use days, you can get just the days in number. If you use months, you can get the month. And you can expect the last one, right? Year. Sometimes it's useful. Good to know that there is formula called hour or minute, day, month, year. Make sure you don't put the S because I sometimes put the S and they say error. So it has to be hour, minute, day, month, year. But you can get to the numbers like that. The other small tricks. just show you. Obviously, if you link the cell like that, you can get the same number, right? If you drag, they keep copying the formula. If you want to lock the cell but you still want to drag, what do you have to do? So, I actually didn't know when I was a uni student, and then I hope that I knew it. And some of you guys probably know, but if you put the dollar sign between the cell and the number, and also the beginning, even when you drag the cell, it's still showing the same cell. But obviously, if you don't put the dollar mark, it's gonna keep moving, right? So it's quite useful. I don't really use for just one cell like that, but when we create big formula, this is a good trick to know, because sometimes you don't want to move one cell, but you want to move other cell. So just know that, using dollar sign, if you can't remember everything, just remember this one. If you if you just want to lock, just use the dollar sign. You always have the way. Even if it's middle of the formula, you just have to put the dollar mark before the alphabet and before the number. Okay, the next. Let's say sometimes we create separate Google Sheet. Client going to here and they're going to change everything. But I don't want the client to see the summary sheet. What I do is I create the separate sheet so they can edit whatever they want. But I need this sheet to create the final result. What can we do? In Google Sheet, there is a formula called import range. This is the one that Excel has different function, but I found that import range in Google Sheet works better than Excel. The reason is because, I will show you later. So the import range, what we have to do is, first you have to type import range, bracket, use apostrophe, and you get the link. You obviously have Google Sheet, so that means you have the link, right? And it's always start from http docs google.com that is spreadsheet. What you need is after D, only this bit. After D, so start from one before edit. Just copy that. Close apostrophe. Next thing what you have to do is you have to get the sheet name, which is, we are calling this sheet new sales forecast. And make sure that this is case sensitive. So if you use all small letter or lowercase, you have to use lowercase. If there is capital, you have to follow that. What was the name? New sales forecast. Oops, new sales forecast. And after that, you put this. And the next one will be which cell you want to import. I normally get cell bigger than I need, so that I can cover everything. So I want to cover, let's say, cell from A1 to H17. And just finish it. Close it. Ta-da! Not happy. Sometimes it doesn't work. But I obviously did up to H, so I closed it. Sorry, give me a moment. I need the other sheet. So if you want to import more, obviously you can go more. So let's say I'm going to change that to Z. You can see everything is updated up to there, right? That's why what I normally do is I take as long as I need, and I either put to 100 or 1,000 so that I can cover everything. So if they have, let's say next month they suddenly have more salesperson, more sales, it's gonna be covered. Okay. The only slight issue that I hope they can have is the you can see the format is actually not imported. See, this is bold letter and this is not bold letter. But that's a really small issue. Right. And let's say I get a new person called Sanjay, sell t-shirt. Let's say he makes the sales of 20,000. No, I didn't.
Using Vietnamese.
I don't use Sanjay, it's me.
Control soup.
No, it's okay, I use my name. So what's gonna happen in our feed? It's gonna be updated. So it's pretty spontaneous. In all the days, what we did is client use Excel sheet. We get every week, we copy it, paste it. But if client send, let's say, all the data, we actually copied all the data. There is no other way to check. Now, they don't need to open, copy, and paste. They just keep updating the old file. So it's always gets the updated data. Do you have a question?
Keep up.
Okay. So yeah, import range is quite useful. Again, if it doesn't work, more likely you didn't type the sheet name. You maybe use capital, or there was one space but you typed 2 space, or you didn't include all the cell. Next one. Okay, subtotal. This is I just formatted the original sheet, and I can see that customer A Harry sold T-shirts for $5,000 per month. Chain sold various customers, and that's how much he sold. And I want to know how much Harry sell for August. Obviously, you can just use sum, right? Or chain sell in August, you can just use sum. 3,000. Great. I want to know the total. Sorry, I'll just come back to that one later. And if you just use the sum, obviously you're gonna include those numbers as well, right? The sum that I created per stuff. But in fact, we actually only have 18,000. So the formula that we can use is called subtotal. So what I did in this sheet, obviously you have to create the summary by yourself. If some of you guys are quite advanced in Excel users, in Excel you can use grouping and do subtotal. But in Google Sheet you actually have to do manually. But there is a function called subtotal. So subtotal, if you use subtotal and you use the subtotal for the last time, they don't include all the formula. They ignore all the formula that I created as subtotal. So those numbers will be ignored. So you can get the right number on the bottom. Okay. I explain what subtotal means. Subtotal is the formula name. Number 9 is what you have to type. Subtotal has, I think, around 12 or 15, sorry, I can't remember how many variations we have. But for example, if you use 1, subtotal 1 means they take average. Subtotal 2 is different. I think subtotal 2 is count. I don't remember 3 to 8. But number 9 is the total, so sum up. So you can see here as well, subtotal 9. And I just create everything. I just sum up everything here. So the last formula I did is pretty simple. Subtotal of every cell with 9, right? If you just use, as I showed in the beginning, if you use just sum, they're going to include all the subtotal formula that I created. But I want to ignore that because it's going to double count. So the subtotal bracket 9 and choose the cell is quite useful if you have those summary for each thing. Yeah, so just remember 9 for now. Don't go into 1, 2, 3, or like 11 was, I think, really weird. And that way I can get every number. Next one. Yes.
Before jumping to pivot table, which is a bit more advanced, any questions?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the first few are basic, I would say.
Yeah.
But people saying to get the basic to perfection is hard. It's not easy. So what you have seen so far is efficiency code. When I started with Excel, I can basically write my Excel just using keyboard and really fast. I can do formulas after formulas without thinking, just like you're typing it into Word. That is the level of perfection we're looking for. And all that subtotal formulas and the things that Fuzuki is talking about, unless you know the formulas, you still, right? And when you create manual formulas, you create inefficiency in a way that if someone stuffs something up, it's hard to fix the whole thing, and it's hard for someone to audit the formula as well. So, advanced level is really efficiency, and when you work on Excel, you got to feel like you work on Word.
Yeah.
It's like that. You got to be that efficiency level. You just build formulas like you're typing things up, and you can move through the cell just as fast as you can. Right? And that is really take the basic to the advanced level, and try to have always constantly look for new way to create formulas so that is smarter and smarter. I had a certain formula that I used for many years, and all of a sudden there's a YouTube sort of video saying, oh, there's a new thing, so if you do this, then it eliminates that, and I tested, I tried, I like it, and that's it. That's the way I use it in future. Okay? So there's things that you already done in your way, but always good to learn the new way and practice it. And Fuzuki mentioned Google Sheet here is free, so why not build your own personal budget? You build your own personal, maybe create a CV using Google Sheet, applying for accounting jobs. So that's the basic level, but if you have any questions, time to ask before we move on to we call a bit of a hurting the brain section. You will have to drill a bit far. So any question? No? Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so Harry said it's for efficiency, but to me it's more of the automation. I mean, it's the same thing, but you don't need to manually change it. And I like using the way that I don't need to manually add one cell. That's why I'm just sharing it. So I just go to the next one, which is pivot table. I'm pretty sure some of you guys had a pivot table, but do you really use it? Maybe not. And to be honest, I didn't use too much when I was in uni. I sort of take Excel online course and I learned it, but I completely forgot. So again, when I started work and I realized I have to use a pivot table, but I have no idea how to use it. So I have to learn again. So I'm going to show you what pivot table do. Some of you guys probably have idea, but some of you guys probably see it first time. Pivot table function is the same in Excel as well. There is same name, so you can find it. What you have to do is you have data like this. This is actually the cells that I shared with you, and I just took change one. And I have a raw data like this. What you have to do is you're going to choose the cell that you want to analyze. So pivot table in short is for analysis. So you choose all the area. Go to data. And there is a thing called the pivot table. And in Excel, it's different area, but you can find it from many. Otherwise, just use Google, as I said. Google always has answer. So, now I can analyze anything. So let's say I want to see what product he sold in when and how much. So you can see that it's become sort of analysis table and they just add it up. Actually, I don't need to know when. I just need to know the customer name. Again, you can do that. So you can see that it's sort of easy to analyze what you have. You can change few things, like you can add filters. And I just need to know April sales. Again, you can just analyze it. Or if you don't need it, just close it so it's going to show everything. So pivot table is for analysis and easy to see. Only thing the pivot table you have to be careful is you can't use data like this. You can't use the table. It has to be quite simple data like this. So one line is for customer, one line is product, one line is time, and one line is amount. Every cell have to have something in it. If it's 0, you have to have 0. So sort of like almost like CSV, but it's pretty simple data, and you can make the pivot table and analyze everything. This is a very simple example, but this is the one that I think Excel might be a bit more powerful because you can group better for advanced users. But if it's first time for pivot table, just try and Google Sheet. It doesn't matter which one you use. It's either way pretty user friendly, and I don't think any of you guys use Office 2000 or something. After I think Office 2013 or 2010, pivot table is very easy to use. But if you use, I think 2007, it's quite annoying. But at the moment, you just have to choose what you have to analyze. You just add the row, and then you can do anything. So that's pivot table is. If you have a massive data, I think if you take like some finance course, sometimes you have a massive data that you have to analyze. Pivot table is quite good. Recommended. Okay, next one. As Harry said, we sometimes have to audit the data. So someone prepared a report, and I want to make sure that everything is correct. So I just export the profit and loss from demo company in Zero, so it's not real data, but I just use it. But anyway, let's go to accounting 1001. Obviously, asset minus liability equal equity, right? So you want to make sure that the report that whoever created makes sense. So I want to make sure that equity equal liability, asset minus liability. So what you can do is equity minus total asset minus liability. It's pretty simple formula, right? And if it's same, it's gonna come up true. But let's say whoever did this job did manual work, and they put some different number in there, or didn't update the number. It come up as false. So easy to pick up, and it's pretty simple formula. It's just this cell. You obviously have to have equal in the beginning so that the Google Sheet or Excel can notice that it's formula. But after this cell equal whatever number, if it's not, it come up as false. If it's true, if it's correct, it come up as true. So you can easily see. And also when you see equity, you have something called current year earnings. That has to be same with the profit and loss in the current year earnings, right? Because it's same company, same date you export the profit and loss and the balance sheet. That has to be exactly same. So you can do that too. It's pretty simple formula. But let's say some of the wrong number is false. You can add as many layers you want. You can have 10, 20. So maybe you have like true, false, and true. And sometimes if you have too many letters, it's hard to pick up. So at that time, what I recommend to you is the one called conditional formatting. Again, conditional formatting is available in Excel as well. But in Google Sheet, if you go to format, there is a thing called conditional formatting. And let's say I want to see everything that the text contains false in red, so easy to see. So now what happened? The false become red. So let's say you have like so many true in here. You can still pick up false easily, right? Because only one cell is different there. Or if suddenly you have a false in here, it's going to be red. So you can easily see which one is causing problem. Conditional formatting, you can have more than one conditions. So you can try. You can add a rule saying that cell contains true is green. So you can see that, okay, most of the things is true, but one is false, what's going on. So you can see. I use conditional formatting every now and then. It's pretty useful. And the next one of the formula that I use quite a lot, but I didn't know when I was a uni student, is the if function. I mean, when I was a uni student, I probably had a pretty horrible Excel skill. But there is a function called if. If function is, in short, it's, you can guess, but if this cell is this, let's show this, otherwise let's show this. Now, so let's say I want to check all the cell which is less than negative to check. But if it's more than 0, I just say okay. What you can do is if, oops, sorry, if bracket this cell is less than 0, I want to say check. But otherwise, I'm going to say OK. So you can see now it's showing as check. Right? Obviously, if you drag, you can see everything become less than 0 is showing as check. Right? And everything else showing OK. So the if function is, again, it's pretty good to do audit in the data. And again, you can add the conditional formatting saying that check I want to show as red, so I'm going to check. Right. That's pretty useful too. I have a if function here as well, but that's okay. I can probably do one more. Next one is it's if function, but if function has more than just if. So for example, sum if or count if. I just do sum if for now. So this is just one example of the project that we use as template. So the project 1, I think I'm gonna make this much sales. Project 2, I'm gonna make this much sales. Project 3, I'm gonna make this much sales in whatever the months. That's just a template, simple template. I need to know how much income you create in July. Obviously, you can do the plus the right? What happens if we have suddenly project 5? We have to change the formula. And that's why I was saying automation. If you use the function called sum if, I will explain a bit more later, but sum if is, I will sum up if the cell meets this condition. So you can see each project has the same title, saying the project 1, income, expense, and net profit, income, expense, net profit. Right? So I'm gonna sum up everything that is saying income and showing in the column C. How you can do this? Equals sum if, bracket. So the first one is you have to add the condition. That one is saying income. I'm gonna add this cell. Sorry. And once you do that, you can just and do you remember the diagram? Obviously, in the next month, what I want to have is still the column A is showing income, but I want to add the column B. So that means if I drag this part becomes B, right? But I want to lock the cell, so you can just lock the cell here. So you can see, you can do the audit as well, just make sure. So that's what I was saying. If when you create the formula like this, you just randomly check. So for example, September in income we have 55,500. Is that really correct? You can easily check, just clicking by everything, and yeah, it's 55,500. Yeah, that's correct. Right? So by creating this formula, when someone suddenly have a project 5, and let's say this project is so big, in September you can make 100,000, it's going to be updated. Right? You don't even need to change the cell. I didn't even change this formula, and it's going to be updated. So sum if is the formula works is obviously start with sum if. If this cell meets these things, you add up this column. So that's sum if function. And
quick question, Suzuki?
Yeah.
Can you have more than a single condition?
Yes. Okay. But what I'm gonna do.
So can we say if income more than $1,000, then add the sum?
Let me think. So you want to ignore everything that is less than 1,000?
Or make it 5,000. Depending on the data, so we can see the difference.
So each cell or the sum?
The income line.
No, what I mean is that the total income
or
total, just total income?
So the total, we only count the sales that is more than 5,000.
So
yeah. So we only count the sale, the income that more than 5,000, and make that condition. So I put two conditions in there. So Fuzuki put one condition which is sum of all the income, but I'm trying to challenge by putting in income that more than 5,000 only.
Let me think. If I'm gonna do that, there is probably a formula, but I might create a separate spreadsheet. So
don't have to do it now.
I'm gonna create a separate spreadsheet. Everything is pretty much mirror of this spreadsheet, but I'm gonna put. So when I create the new spreadsheet, I'm gonna say if C8 is less than 5,000, I'm gonna show 0. Otherwise, I'm going to show C8,
yep.
and I use the same sum.
So see where the first part of the section Fuzuki mentioned, always think logic first, before you build formula. Yeah. So the logic here is, because you're putting two conditions in, it's a condition of a condition. So that's why you need to basically create a bridge of logic, right? So from logic A to logic B, so you create a bridge C in the middle, which is why you just mentioned, so you're going to create a intermediate tab or spreadsheet there to condition it first and then condition the other one, right? So that's one of the ways. There might be a smarter formula.
Yeah, I
Keep in
think that
mind.
will be.
So I had this experience before when I created a spreadsheet like this with a friend, a mate of mine. We tried to create a golfing score system, which had quite a lot of conditions. That one, like we have to identify between male and females, handicap, which is the index systems, and then within that we have a different grouping. So condition number 3, and then different grouping we have different scoring system. In different scoring system we have different sections, right? So you can see that it can go on and on and on forever. Once you reach to the level where you cannot use this formula, you start looking at more advanced. So in Google spreadsheet or Excel, you can have a thing called script, where if sum is just a normal function straight from condition A to condition B, or you bridge condition C in the middle. Script, however, is working more like the program languages. Whatever the human thinking, you put the logic down in the white table, and then you build scripts along the line. So, but at this level, I think if or some if or conditions like this would handle pretty much 85% of your work, and it's already good enough.
Yeah. Just wrap up for the Excel. The other thing that I was talking about is you can share the sheet. So if you click share, you can see I'm already shared with someone else. But who done? Let's say Sarah. I can just choose Sarah and send. Or let's say I don't trust Sarah, so Sarah can only comment. I can do that too. We don't normally do to staff, but we do to clients because clients sometimes mess up formula. So we just say you can comment, but you don't change it. So that's sharing. And as I said, in Google Sheet, you always have the thing called all change saved in Drive. If you click that, you can see that it's all edited by me, but you can see which cell I edited. I mean, that one may be too old, but I don't have too much. This one, I should have something. I can show you a good example, because I think the cell is full. Normally what's going to happen is the cell that I edited showing different color. Yeah, see, here we go. So that someone can tell me that if, let's say, D2 cell is messed up, you can see that I edited yesterday at 3:48 p.m. this cell. What did you do? And that's the security level that we have in Excel. When you work in Google Sheet, you can export into Excel too. And if you have Excel, you move the Excel file into Google Drive. You always have Google Drive if you have a Google account. You can export that into Google Sheet as well. So it's always compatible. And also the other thing I like Google Sheet is that whatever I make changes, it's saved. So, in Excel, sometimes you click and they say, do you want to save? And if you say no, it's not saved. And you're like, oh shit, I did work for 1 hour and I lost it. Google Sheet, it doesn't work that way. It's always saved. So now if I close this computer, it's already there. So I'm going to wrap up in here. Oops. So the few caps, big caps. Accountants still need Excel, as you can see. Some of the conditions we have to add in the spreadsheet. If you are more familiar or you know the formula exists, you can always work around it. That's why I was saying that you don't need to understand everything that I said. I'm not saying that now you have to use SUMIF and make sure you get it right. No. You know that's a function called SUMIF, you can use SUMIF. If you are not sure about any formula or function, just go to Google. Do your own research. And you can find why it's not working. So So you always do the self-research. And as I said, most of the things that you want to achieve, you can probably achieve in spreadsheet. But do your own sort of use common sense. Is that really correct? If it's not correct, again, go back to the original. Think about the logic and you fix it. Any questions? Or was that too heavy formula stuff? Maybe. Any question is fine.
Find the most annoying things about Google Sheets.
5 annoying things.
Yeah, the most annoying thing.
Most annoying thing. When it gets too big, it gets a bit slow. But that's same thing with Excel.
Yes.
Excel gets too big and then, opening up Excel takes 1 minute. Second thing, when you want to group the pivot table in specific way, it's not gonna work. So, for example, the pivot table that I show is pretty simple one. It's months, so it's always months. But normally when I export the data, it's come up as date. And let's say I want to see the week 1 and the week 2, it's not working. So you have to use Excel. Otherwise, I guess third thing, if that person you want to share doesn't have a Google account, you can set up the Google Sheet as sort of almost public. So anyone who has the link can click. So it's sort of bringing the security level a bit down. But as long as someone has Google account, it's pretty secure. 2 more. I mean, I personally like Google Sheet more because, again, you don't need to have a software in your computer. So I think it always works better.
It took me 6 months to convince her moving from Excel into Google Sheet.
But I explained to you because of the pivot table.
Yeah, and every week when we started, she started using Google Sheet. She came back with complaint, Harry, can I move back to Excel? And the answer is no, keep pushing. And now she said that she liked Google Sheet more than Excel. See? Change.
Yes and no. I still use Excel, Harry.
Quietly.
No. These days I start from Google Sheet, and if it doesn't work, I go back to Excel.
There's certain thing that, because it's online thing, I think we had an experience where we couldn't figure out why. Last time when we tried, Suzuki, remember I used a cut function?
Yeah.
So that's one of the annoying part is I use a lot of the cut function. So there's maybe Suzuki did more quickly. Do we have time?
I just distribute the paper. Yeah, I can do that.
So the cut function in Excel as well, it worked quite nicely. When you cut a line and you paste it somewhere else, all the formula behind it would maintain the same. But we had cases where we did the cut and all of a sudden it's not working for some reason today.
So you can see
tomorrow it comes back, it's working. Right? So
and I couldn't figure out.
And we couldn't figure out why. But I use the cut function quite a lot. Just when I need to redesign the architecture of the reports a little bit, I cut the whole section and I paste it in the different column. Normally all the formulas and everything maintain the same if you use a cut. However, if you use copy and paste, you'll throw the formulas out. Right? So be careful when you copy and paste.
And the reason that Harry explained is because I checked who messed up my formula and I found that Harry did it.
Yeah.
And that's the security level.
And we had a big fight about the cut function.
I was like, Harry, don't mess up my spreadsheet.
Question?
Yeah?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, just a quick question regarding formatting. So if you were to import Excel file into a Google Sheet or vice versa, does the formatting stay the same exactly or does it sometimes change?
It's pretty much same unless you use a formula called array formula. Array formula means array.
All right.
Yeah, so that one doesn't work very well. So if you have that level of formula, probably don't compile it. Whatever you work in the original is better. But except the array formula, everything worked so far for me. Maybe I'm not picking up something, but that's the only thing I picked up.
Thank you.
Any other questions, please? Okay, Brian.
Hi, I just wonder, like, example for the Google Sheet, do you have a lot of shortcut in comparison to Excel? Because for Excel, when I use it, you guys try anything, I use my hand with the keyboard. I want to move my right hand to the mouse and click. And
No, you can use tab. It's pretty much same with Excel.
almost the same.
Yeah, one more question.
Hi, I have a question. Is Excel, like you shown a function that you can update the sheet and then shows the same figure on the other sheet, right? Like an extra copy to client. Does it work similarly with Excel Google
The
Sheet?
import range things.
Yeah.
No.
So you have to upload manually. Okay.
Or if you in Excel, if you save the data on same location all the time in your computer, there is a way to work around it. But if you move the data, let's say you save the data in C drive, and then now you move to desktop, it's not gonna work. Or if you delete the data, they just keep the old data in there. So it's not spontaneous like Google Sheet. So if you have two sheets like that, I always recommend to use Google Sheet. But there is a way to work around it.
And is there an alternative for Google Sheet like Excel Online or something? Do you recommend Excel Online?
Office 365, no.
No.
I hate it.
Any reason?
Maybe they updated now, but when I used first time, again, it come back to pivot table. They didn't have a pivot table in the first version. And after that, I'm like, no way. That's why I use Google Sheet. And also, the other thing is, the Excel Online costs money. It's quite expensive. I think it's like $5 per month. Every month.
Well, it's free for ANU.
Let's try. I haven't tried for a year, to be honest, for the Excel Online. Maybe it's updated.
Yeah, so it's different Google Sheet that can link to Excel is really important in our business, because when we invest in building a big report, we put a lot of work in it. Right? Doesn't matter whether we try to lock or secure the formula. There's someone always try to do something silly. So the best way to, in that kind of approach is we normally save, we call master file. It's a big report that will connect to all different files. So if we work as doing a big sort of financial report, you're thinking that client would have a sales team, they would have a production team, they would have a HR team, they would have a marketing team. And we certainly don't want a marketing creative kind of person going into a financial report. So what we then do is we create another Google Sheet called Marketing Sales Report. And we get them the only access to their report, which is simple. Updating the sales numbers, we're linking it to our master file. So our master work is secure. Right? We might be able to give them an access to our certain part of our report, but view only. So they cannot touch it. This work for anything. Like you've got a group of friends who are doing things together simply one. Each only work on a certain piece and then you consolidate everything into one big piece. There's always a better way to do it rather than share everything to everyone. Right? Any other questions before we close? Okay.
I'm just wondering if I want to learn more about, spreadsheet skills, shortcuts, functions, all that. Do you have any recommended books, YouTube channel, online courses, or what's the best platform, I guess, to learn more about spreadsheets?
Sorry, I can't answer to that one. I think there is Excel for Dummies or something. But the way I learned is when I want to achieve something, I will research. So not like I follow the textbook or YouTube that recommend me to do this and I follow. But I guess there is, have you ever heard Udemy? Udemy. So Udemy is sort of like education platform. And there is free Excel course. You can go in there and learn. Some people probably better to learn that way. That's how I did it. But I couldn't learn very well. It's just the alphabet U plus Demi. I'm pretty sure I can find it.
You can also use goskills.com.
Yeah.
That's a good website.
So it's sort of like online course, but again, for me to learn is just sort of, I face the issue, I do the same thing and keep doing it so I remember. So, for example, pivot table. In the beginning, I couldn't get it right. I did the course, whatever they told me, I follow it, I can do it. But if I want to do for myself, it doesn't work. So, sort of, I don't have, that's why I don't have particular recommendation. Just keep trying on your way.
Yeah, and Excel's just like word processing. You look at the person who typed with 2 fingers and the one that typed with 10. How long it take you to get to 10? And I'm typing with 11 figure. I told my staff yesterday because I use the pound here as well to speed up. So the only way you can get there is really do more.
Yeah.
And this core skill behind Excel is the logic. It's not a formula. A lot of people misunderstand this thing. Try to get all these advanced formulas you never remember anyway. It's about the logic. It's about pushing out to the limit and constantly thinking, can you do it in a better way? And the only way that you can keep thinking about a better way to do it is by making mistakes. So like us, we build a really good formulas and we think that it is the best. And all of a sudden we get into cases where it's not the best anymore. So you've got to keep researching and find a better way to do it. So it is about the logic, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And a lot of people overlook Excel as well. Right? Even business out there, accounting firms, they're saying, software can do everything. Right? And in Big Four, 85% of their work are still in Excel. Right? So one thing take away today, it is about the logic. And when you present someone with an Excel spreadsheet, put a lot of thinking into it, format it properly, design it in a way that someone can really understand your logic, like you do. It's not just a formula. It's a formatting, it's a logic, it's how you structure the tables, why it is column A but not B. When I call sums, I always have a blank line in the middle, why did I do that? And all that sort of thinking, the logic behind the care of, crafting the Excels. And we often say these things. When we attended the conference, Zero conference in Brisbane last week, and there's people from Zero saying, we're going to do the coding for accountant. Accountant doesn't need to do coding anymore. I felt like someone giving you a thesis and saying, that's it, you can do your haircut. It's really easy to operate, isn't it? It's kind of like that. An accountant like us, when we look at someone doing Excel's work, like today, in the morning when I and Suzuki look at one of our staff who created an Excel report for our customers, and I said, I was thinking about that thesis haircut, You can tell straight away when someone who first time trying to cut someone else's hair versus the report coming out of Suzuki where I can straight away see the logic. I can see how she started, where they finished, where the audit, there's quality assurance. She cared about the people who are reading it, and she could talk on it. Highlight the colors. Why do we have to highlight the folds? Because we're reading thousands of lines. And sometimes we cannot see the fault. We're just skipping through it. So we put the colors in. Many more, but it's all around thinking about that concept again. And that's different between a good accountant and non-good accountant. Good hairdressers and a DIY hairdresser, right? you can see it straight away. So accountant skills, Excel is going to be there, and it has been overlooked. But it's all around that care, that experience, logic that you build, and you can only build it, advance it as you're learning it. As you're having more challenge, like you're having another business that have more conditions, like I've asked a question about conditions, then you push the limit. Your formula won't work anymore in that situation. What else can you do? Push, right?
I think the longest formula I had was like 4 lines in the formula area. It's just keep going if this. And in there there's if. So it can get bigger and bigger over the time as well.
And one of my moments a couple of months ago when we built the golf scoring system was that I had a really long formula, really long. And all of a sudden we found, my friend actually, he found a YouTube video showing small tricks, a different formula. It turned this long down to this short, right? So, and I've never used that before. And it's actually a new function too in Google Sheet. So it's not going to disappear in it. It's we're not going to cut our hairs and be sure that we're going to still go into salons and get people who know what they're doing, right? So I hope you take away something today, but like I said, the quote of the day is all about the logic. It's not formula.
No.
No more questions? Thank you, Suki. Good session.
Sunday, is Michael here? Ah, he can come in.
So the next session is about tax. Sorry, I just close up my screen first.
And why we do this one? Because we got a query from audience a couple of months ago. Someone asked us, does students also have to do tax return in Australia? And some of them was struggling or don't know what's the best way to do their own tax return. I still remember when I was still back in 2005, I lived in a house and my landlord think that I'm an accountant, even though I was first year accountant student. And she said, can you do my tax return? I said, yeah, why not, try. I did her first tax return, she got a refund and she paid me 1 bottle of wine. So that was more than 10 years ago. Coming from the audience, want to learn how to do personal tax return, that's why we bring Michael in from Jigsaw Tax, and he's going to show you a few things around individual tax return.
Sanjay, can you bring the iPhone? So as Harry said, the next session is about individual tax. I'm pretty sure some of you guys did the tax before for yourself, and I normally do by myself too. We are accountants, so we can do by ourselves. And we have to do every year. But sometimes you wonder why you can claim or why you can't claim, and when some of the students try to claim more deduction, but which is technically not right. So Michael Konozowski.
Hello everyone.
He's a partner at Jigsaw Tax, and he knows everything about tax. So I will pass to him.
I hope. Can you guys all hear me? Do I need a microphone?
Yes, you do.
Oh, do I?
Because some people are listening online.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, yes.
You want to click this one? Yeah, you have it.
Clicker didn't work very well there.
Should be working.
This one.
Just click.
Yeah, we're good.
It was off.
Hi everyone, I'm a tax accountant. I am one of the owners of Jigsaw Tax and Accounting, Jigsaw Tax and Advisory as of last year. We've rebranded. I'm actually an ex-auditor from the tax office. I have done about 6 to 7 years at the ATO. I actually started in tax with my dad's business when I was 16, and so now 15 years later I'm still loving tax. not really. No. One of the issues that I see a lot as an auditor and also as a tax agent is people not understanding what self-education expenses are. Now, you're all students here, hopefully all accountants. Some of you actually may already work in an accounting firm or in a similar industry. You're probably wondering, how can I make this work for myself so I can actually get a bit more of a tax deduction? So we'll firstly start with, raise your hands, who here has done tax law at uni? Has everyone done? Not yet? Who hasn't had the pleasure of doing tax law yet? Okay, not too many. So you're going to really get sick of Section 8.1. Section 8.1 is all about ordinary concepts. It's actually a really interesting piece of legislation that came into effect in 1997, and it became a very, not a rules-based, so not black and white, but quite an objective test to see whether something is deductible. Now, there are 6 things that you need to consider in a tax deduction. The first 2 positive limbs are incurred in gaining or producing assessable income, or is it necessarily incurred in carrying on a business? No one here is in a business except probably me and a few other people, so we're going to not worry about that second positive limb. And then you might think that something was incurred in gaining or producing assessable income, but then you've got to apply the negative test to see whether it will knock that deduction out. Self-education is an interesting one because it's really not necessarily incurred in the gaining or producing of your assessable income, is it? So if you're in an accounting firm, no one's saying you must go and do this accounting degree. Or if you're a physio and you want to study masters, no one's telling you that you must actually study masters. So there's a separate provision that deals with self-education expenses. And this is added in order to allow people who are working and are studying in their area of work to continue claiming tax deductions. And it's actually claimed in a separate area of the tax return, which I will show you my tax return at the end. I think it's the second last slide. So the first thing to do is we need to differentiate between what is self-education expenses and what are ordinary deductions. I do quite often courses with the Tax Institute and my body here, which is the CPA, probably on a monthly basis to keep up my CPD. Now, is that self-education or is that an ordinary deduction? Because I have to keep doing that as part of my 120 hours. So the requirement to test self-education is, does it actually lead to a formal qualification? So if you are, let's say, working in an accounting firm and you go to the Tax Institute's monthly update, that would not be a formal qualification. So then you've got to test it under the ordinary deductions rule. But if it is a self-education expense, and it is actually going to give you a formal qualification, and that formal qualification actually relates to your current position where you are earning money right now, then you are probably eligible for a self-education deduction. It gets a bit grey, and I've had a case where someone has worked at, say, Woolworths as a checkout operator, but they've also been told, hey, if you study accounting, we're going to give you a job in 2 years at head office in Sydney. I used to actually live 500 metres away from Woolworths head office. So it's quite a common thing that a lot of the stores in the area would take on graduates that would go from checkout. I was actually a deli man for 3 years. That they would then move into a corporate area. Now you say, well, there's the same employer, and they've told me that, hey, I'll be able to come and count with Woolworths. But it's not the position that you are in right here, right now. Where it gets a little bit complex is if you're in an admin role or in another role within, say, an accounting firm, can you claim that degree? At that point, no, you can't. But let's say you are working in some sort of bookkeeping, accounting fashion, maybe as an assistant or a junior accountant, and you are doing an accounting degree. You then do what's called the eligible course test, and there basically must have sufficient connection, what we call the nexus, to your current employer or your employment position. The main one we use as a test is the first test, as you can see, maintain or improve the specific skills and knowledge you require in your current job. There are some leeway where it will result in, or is likely to result in, an increase of income from your current work activities. I tend to rely on the first test more than the second test, as it's just easier to pass. And like I said before, if it's generally related, so not really related, or it's actually going to let you get a new position, so let's say that deli person like me, I after high school, someone says, study accounting, that's going to be a new employment within the employer or new position. So that's not where deduction will be allowed for self-education. So let's say we've passed those tests and we're now entitled to a self-education deduction. And it's actually really good. I remember doing my first return where I started as a junior accountant in a firm in Sydney, and I could suddenly claim law textbooks, and we know how much those ones are. Who's got the triple pack of tax law books that you get? I think it's what, $300 per set? Just to give you an idea, I did my tax law, advanced tax law, and revenue law in 3 different years, and each of those years had a different book. That's $900 worth of books for the same topic, which I was working in. So you get to get some really good stuff when you start looking at self-education expenses. Oh, I think there's a microphone, so I'm just going to stand in the middle here. I'm not trying to ignore you guys, but my right hand's just, I can read that one a lot easier. 1 or 2 slides. There were 3 laptops. So that was actually not a big thing. Pretty amazing. Everyone was like, wow, got a laptop in that first year. Study area. So who lives on campus in one of the rooms here? Like in one of the colleges, separate study area. Now if I was richer, I could actually claim the amount of hours I stay inside one night. So there's a list tax deductible once you pass that. Put the main ones on the piece of paper, so if you do want to take that home with you. Parking fees. Calls, you've got a really apportionment. Really, we don't see more than 10 to 20%, but if your mobile phone is your main source of internet, standard textbooks is the biggest one.
Around that.
Is it around that?
Yeah.
So they will actually, there's no differentiation.
Oh, wow.
So just to give you a background, I did my first 1.5 years as a full-time student, and then I did my next 2 years I did as a part-time student, working full-time in an accounting firm and doing 3 subjects at night.
Can I go back 10 years my tax?
No, so good question. I'm actually fighting the ATO about that one. It's 2 years. So, and I'm going to talk about making payments towards HECS liabilities or fee help after you finish studying. So that's going to be covered in another slide. I had a really good question from a physio about that the other day. She's still paying off her fee help from her Masters of Physio. She owns a physio practice, and she said, oh, can I claim that? We're going to cover that in a second. And to and from place of education, I've got a really cool diagram that Himanshi has provided for me. One thing that I accidentally claimed, so don't tell the tax office, but it was 10, 14 years ago, graduation fees are not deductible. And you think, well, I can't get my degree without my graduation. No, it's actually excluded. You cannot claim graduation fees. So I claimed the hat and everything, wasn't supposed to.
And Michael, no difference between domestic and international? So
no.